responsibility, not the pastor, not the community leader, not the commissioner, not the singer, the songwriter.
What started as a normal Sunday of worship quickly became a moment no one inside the sanctuary would ever forget. The church was filled with music, expectation, and familiar joy as Pastor Charles Jenkins stepped into the pulpit, full of energy and passion. No one could have imagined that within minutes, celebration would turn into shock. This story is not only about a man collapsing during a sermon, but about how quickly life can change and how fragile even the strongest leaders can be. It reveals fear, faith, confusion, and unity all colliding in one powerful moment. As the events unfolded, the congregation, the church leadership, and the wider gospel community were forced to confront hard truths about leadership, health, and the unseen weight pastors carry every day. The moment. Everything changed in the sanctuary. As Pastor Jenkins preached with his usual intensity, subtle signs appeared that something was wrong. His voice began to shake, and his grip on the pulpit tightened. At first, many believed it was simply emotion, a familiar sight during heartfelt sermons. Then, without warning, his strength failed. He collapsed forward, and the sanctuary erupted into chaos. Screams filled the air. People rushed toward the pulpit, and others froze in disbelief. What had been a sacred moment of worship turned into fear within seconds. Eyewitnesses later said it felt unreal, as if time had slowed down. Some thought he had fainted, but the panic in the room told a deeper story. Prayers were shouted aloud, tears flowed freely, and fear settled heavily over the congregation as they realized this was no ordinary interruption. Panic, prayer, and immediate response. Trained medical members of the church moved quickly, checking Pastor Jenkins' pulse and trying to stabilize him. Ushers worked desperately to calm the crowd while others ran to call emergency services. Some church members dropped to their knees, praying loudly and pleading for God's intervention. The sanctuary, once filled with joyful songs, was now overwhelmed by sobs and urgent cries for help. When paramedics arrived with a stretcher, silence followed. People watched in shock as their pastor was carefully lifted and carried away. The emotional shift was overwhelming. Choir members stood motionless, some covering their faces, others holding on to one another. Outside, flashing lights from ambulances painted the street, and prayer circles formed as members held hands, hoping for a miracle. In just minutes, their strong leader was on his way to the ICU. The first hospital update and heavy silence. At the hospital, doctors confirmed that Pastor Jenkins was alive but in critical condition. That brief update brought both relief and fear. He was stable, yet the seriousness of his condition left everyone anxious. Family members remained by his side, refusing to leave him alone. His wife, though heartbroken, showed strength by asking for privacy while encouraging continued prayer. Church leaders arrived quickly, trying to support the family while also managing the growing concern among church members. The lack of detailed information created confusion. Silence filled the gap where answers should have been, and that silence only deepened the emotional weight. People waited desperately for news, clinging to faith while fearing the worst. The hospital became the center of hope, uncertainty, and unanswered questions. Social media explodes with support and speculation. Within minutes of the collapse, videos from inside the church spread across social media. Messages of prayer and love poured in from all over the country. Hashtags calling for prayer began trending, uniting people who had never even met Pastor Jenkins. However, alongside the support came speculation. Some suggested hidden health issues, while others whispered about stress and ministry pressures. The lack of transparency fueled rumors, and the story quickly became larger than a medical emergency. It turned into a public conversation. Social media amplified every theory, every fear, and every opinion. While many stood firm in faith, others questioned what had really happened. The digital world became both a place of comfort and a breeding ground for confusion. The burden behind the pulpit. As more details emerged, insiders hinted that Pastor Jenkins had been pushing himself too hard. His schedule had been relentless, filled with preaching, traveling, meetings, and music commitments. Rest had become secondary to service. Like many pastors, he reportedly brushed off exhaustion, believing his calling required constant strength. This revelation shifted the conversation. His collapse was no longer seen only as a sudden medical event, but as a sign of deeper strain. It exposed the hidden reality many spiritual leaders face. Pastors often feel pressure to appear strong at all times, even when they are worn down. This moment forced people to confront how easily leaders neglect their own health while caring for everyone else. Hope inside the ICU walls. Inside the ICU, doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize Pastor Jenkins. Family members held onto every small sign of progress. Insiders shared that he showed moments of awareness and slight movement, offering hope during an otherwise frightening time. Doctors warned, however, that the next 24 hours were critical. The emotional tension was intense. Each update carried enormous weight. When he briefly opened his eyes and whispered, "Tell the church I love them," those words broke hearts and lifted spirits at the same time. It was a reminder that even in weakness, his love for his congregation remained strong. Still, the road ahead was uncertain, and recovery would not be easy. A community united in faith. Outside the hospital and back at the church, prayer became constant. Candlelight gatherings formed through the night. Worship songs were sung softly and tears flowed freely. Gospel artists, fellow pastors, and public figures shared messages of encouragement, calling him a brother and a true servant of God. The gospel community rallied together, storming heaven with prayers. For many, this unity was powerful proof of the impact Pastor Jenkins had made over the years. Families stood side by side, holding on to hope that he would recover and return to the pulpit. Faith became the anchor that kept fear from taking over completely. Controversy and difficult conversations. Despite the overwhelming support, controversy continued to grow. Some questioned why the church was not sharing more information. Others speculated about hidden struggles, both physical and emotional. Critics argued that large churches place unrealistic expectations on their leaders. These discussions created division. While many rejected negativity and focused on prayer, others demanded accountability and transparency. The story evolved into a broader debate about leadership culture within the church. Was too much responsibility placed on one man? Could this collapse have been prevented? These uncomfortable questions forced the congregation and the wider community to reflect deeply. Leadership under pressure and future uncertainty. Behind closed doors, church elders began holding serious meetings. They discussed not only how to address rumors, but also how to prepare for the future. Doctors had made it clear that a full recovery would require extended rest. This raised difficult questions about temporary leadership and long-term planning. The idea of worship without Pastor Jenkins felt unsettling for many. Yet his collapse highlighted a truth that could no longer be ignored. One person cannot carry an entire ministry alone. This moment demanded shared responsibility, teamwork, and a new approach to leadership. A wake-up call for the church. Many began to see the collapse as more than a crisis. Some viewed it as a warning, a call to rethink how churches care for their leaders. An elder's words echoed deeply, reminding everyone that even the strongest need rest. The focus slowly shifted from speculation to self-examination. How could the church create healthier systems of support? How could leaders be encouraged to rest without guilt? This painful moment opened the door for honest conversations that had been avoided for years. A story that reaches beyond one man. The collapse of Pastor Charles Jenkins became a symbol of hidden battles, human limits, and the power of community in crisis. It changed not only one congregation, but sparked conversations across the gospel world. While his recovery remained uncertain, his story left a lasting impact. It challenged assumptions about strength, leadership, and faith. What began as a joyful Sunday became a turning point, reminding everyone that faith does not eliminate human vulnerability. Instead, It calls people to carry one another, especially when the strongest among them can no longer stand alone.